First of all, I'd like to say that it is an honor to be among such incredible talent. This particular song, I'm born over in North Carolina, and thank you. We got some Tar Heels here today. But there's a place down there, it's in a low coastal area, and we got places that are called swamps, and they are thick, briars, brambles, rattlesnakes, about anything bad you can think of. I used to hunt in one when I was a boy, and I got to thinking about, what if I put a ghost in that dead blame thing? What would happen? We'd have the swamp and the ghost. So I turned out with a thing called the Legend of Wooley Swamp. It goes like this. But if you ever go back into Woody Swamp, you better not go at night. There's things out there in the middling woods that make a strong man die from fright. Things that crawl, things that fly, things that creep around on the ground. And to say the ghost of Lucius Clay gets up and he walks around, but I couldn't believe it. Just had to find out for myself, and I couldn't conceive it. I never would have listened to nobody else, and I couldn't believe it. Just had to find out for myself. Now there's some things in this world you just can't explain. The old man lived in the Wooley Swamp way back in Booger Woods. He never did do a lot of harm in the world. He just never did do no good. People didn't think too much of him. They all thought he acted funny. That old man didn't care about people anyway. All he cared about was his money. And he'd stuff it all down into mason jars and bury it all around. And on certain nights, if the moon was right, he'd dig it up out of the ground. And then he'd pour it all out on the floor of his shack, and he'd run his fingers through it. Yeah, Lucius Clay was a greedy old man. That's all that there was to it. But I couldn't believe it. I just had to find out for myself, and I couldn't conceive it. I never would have listened to nobody else, and I couldn't believe it. Just had to find out for myself. Now there's some things in this world you just can't explain. The Kegel boys is white trash. They lived over on Carver's Creek. And they were mean as a snake and sneaky as a cat and belligerent when they speak. One night the oldest brother said, y'all meet me in the Wooley Swamp later, and we'll take old Lucius his money and we'll just feed him to the alligators. They found the old man out in the back with a shovel in his hand. 13 rusty mason jars he just dug up out of the sand. And then they all went crazy and they beat the old man and they picked him up off the ground. And then they threw him in the swamp and stood there and laughed as the black water sucked him down. Then they turned around and went back to the shack, picked up the money and ran. They hadn't gone nowhere when they realized that they were running in quicksand. And they struggled and they screamed, but they couldn't get away. Just before they went under, they could hear that old man laughing in a voice as loud as thunder. And that's been 50 years ago, and you can go by there yet. And there's a spot in the yard in the back of that shack where the ground is always wet. And on certain nights, if the moon is right, down by that dark footpath, you can hear 3 young men screaming, and you can hear one old man laugh. If you ever go back in the Wooley Swamp, well, you better not go at night. There's things out there in the middling woods that make a strong man die from fright. Things that crawl, things that fly, things that creep around on the ground. And to say the ghost of Lucius Clay gets up and he walks around, but I couldn't believe it. Just had to find out for myself, and I couldn't conceive it. I never would have listened to nobody else, and I couldn't believe it. Just had to find out for myself. Now there's some things in this world you just can't explain. Yeah, there's some things in this world you just can't explain. In music, once I learned to play a couple of chords, it's all I ever wanted to do. I had no desire to do anything else. While everybody else wanted to be airline pilots and firemen, I wanted to be a guitar picker, you know, and a fiddle player. That's all I really cared about. I came to Nashville in '67 with the clutch out of my car, a $20 bill, a wife, and a baby that was almost 2 years old. And I had a friend that helped me during that time, but it was tough staying here, you know. I've always played a little too loud and a little too bluesy, especially for what was going on in Nashville at the time. But Bob Dylan was coming to town, and my friend was producing him. And I said, you got to let me play on one Bob Dylan session, just because I'm such an admirer. Anyway, he scheduled me for the early session, and I went in, and I played, and I hung on every word and every note that Bob Dylan played or sang, and I was packing my instruments up, getting ready to leave, because I was only supposed to do one session. And Bob Dylan asked Bob Johnson, where's Charlie going? He said, he's leaving, I got another guitar player. And Bob Dylan said 9 words that would affect me the rest of my life. I don't want another guitar player, I want him.